Brother lads, welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and transfer news as well. Arsenal are likely to sign a forward after signing Mikel Merino, and the expectation is that that forward is going to be a winger. Now, Arsenal have not given up on Nico Williams, and we are also tracking Pedro Neto as well. But today, surprisingly, there is a new name on the list, and that name is Joao Pedro. So Joao Pedro at Brighton is another name that has been linked with Arsenal today, and I'm not surprised that we're linked with the player, the profile of Joao Pedro. Mikel Arteta still wants a player who can give us a lot of options, who can play at right wing, left wing, and as a striker as well. Joao Pedro right now on the market is one of the best at doing it, at doing that. He can play as a number 10, he can play as a 7, he can play as an 11, and I think most importantly, he can play as a striker as we lose Edin Ketia to Olympique Marseille this summer. So in this video, let's dive into the reaction on Nico Williams, Pedro Neto, and Joao Pedro as well. So let's start off with the update from Team News and Ticks. He says Arsenal have not completely ruled out Nico Williams yet. Pedro Neto is lower on the list and also has interest from Tottenham. The player would prefer a move to Arsenal this summer. So we know how much Arsenal like Pedro. We know how much Arsenal like Neto. And we also know how much Arsenal like Nico Williams as well. However, what I didn't think is Arsenal waiting for Nico Williams this long. I didn't think that Arsenal would wait and wait and wait for Williams until the second day of August, until 15 days to the start of the Premier League, and we are still waiting for one player. Now, for me, with the Nico Williams deal, again, I'm gonna say it again. I think Arsenal love him. I think Arsenal really appreciates him, and if we signed him, I wouldn't be surprised if he came in and became a real starter. When I looked at Gabriel Martinelli's energy, and I also looked at Trossard's energy, I think these are two players that we really like. I really like both of them, but we can upgrade on them. We can upgrade on everyone on that left-hand side. We can upgrade on Zinchenko with Calafiori. We can upgrade on Declan Rice with Mikel Merino. And we can also upgrade on Martinelli and Trossard with Nico Williams. So I don't have a problem with that. And I agree, Nico Williams is an upgrade to whoever we have on the left wing. The problem with this deal is that it is not clear whether the player is even going to be leaving. It is not clear whether the player is even going to turn his hand away from Barcelona to another club. That's the problem with this deal. I love Nico. I think he's a good player. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's a market opportunity. I think Arsenal have every right and every wonderful reason for us to say, listen guys, we will wait for Nico Williams. We are not going to sign any other winger until we find out that we cannot sign Nico Williams anymore. I don't have a problem with that. But for how long are we going to wait for Nico Williams? For me, the final decision on Nico Williams has already been made. Although it is not yet official, Fabrizio says that there is still a small chance that he might not stay at Atletico Bilbao. But I kind of feel like the player's already made up his mind. He wants to either go to Barcelona this summer or wait for Barcelona next summer. So he either stays at Bilbao this summer and waits for Barca, or he goes to Barca this summer. Now, Barca at the moment feel the deal is very, very difficult for them financially. And credit to Arsenal, because right from July, Arsenal have always believed that Barcelona would fail to get Nico Williams financially. We've always felt that Barca have financial problems, and because it's a release clause, and that release clause has to be triggered with La Liga, and La Liga know very well that Barcelona have a 100 million euro, hole in their finances. They were never going to fool La Liga in any way. So the deal was always going to be difficult. But I hope before the Euros ended, we actually established our chances of signing Nico Williams, because it wouldn't make any sense for us to wait and wait until maybe the start of the season, and then Bilbao say, we want to keep our player, the season has started, we cannot replace him, right? So as time goes, we have to bite the bullet. We have to choose, is he the player that we are actually going to sign and no one else? That would be foolishness. That would be madness. If we have other options, let's move over to other options. Let's consider other options. Because for me, Nico Williams is a player that loves Barca, is a player that breathes Barcelona. If not that, a deal could have been done with another club. I think Arsenal have not approached Bilbao because they know Williams wants Barcelona. And again, it doesn't make any sense for us to wait for Nico Williams, because unless the player and his camp have told Arsenal, we are going to try to go to Barcelona. We are going to give Barcelona first priority. But if they fail, if a deal fails, then we are going to turn to Arsenal. Then I would understand that. But if it's not for that, I would definitely say walk away, protect your pride, protect your standards, walk away and find another deal. Walk away and find another player that you can actually sign this summer. But I want your thoughts there. I want your thoughts on Nico Williams. Arsenal are saying we are not giving up on him. We are not going to go away. He is our first priority. I understand very much he's our first priority. I understand why he is our first priority. But what I don't understand and what I don't feel is right is us just looking on Nico Williams. And I know many of you would say, oh, you know, Cossy, we saw Nico Williams, brilliant player. I'm not disputing any of that. His talent is unprecedented. His ability is unprecedented. The quality he would add to Arsenal is purely unprecedented. And when we think about the price, for Arsenal to think about getting him for less than 60 million euros, that is a bargain, right? But are we sure Arsenal can pay Nico Williams' release clause at once? Because that's what Bilbao are saying. Whoever is going to take him, you're paying the release clause at once. That's number one. Secondly, are we sure the player is eventually going to look at Barcelona as a failed move and then he moves over to Arsenal? I don't think we're sure on any of those grounds. I don't think there is a real reason for Arsenal to tie themselves on Nico Williams, honestly. So, Williams it's not yet over. Arsenal are still looking at him. But let's look at the other deals that could be done and are possible. So they're also saying that Pedro Neto is lower on the list of wingers Arsenal want to sign this summer. However, there is interest from Tottenham, but the player would prefer to play for Arsenal. So I think we already know this. Pedro Neto is giving priority to Arsenal and would love to give priority to Arsenal right now over, Tottenham over any other club. But with Pedro Neto, it would be an easy deal, by the way. It wouldn't be a very difficult deal. Neto is available for a transfer. Wolves are asking for £50 million. If you have that, you take the player. And I think most importantly of all, there's so many clubs interested. So a deal is going to happen, right? The thing with Pedro Neto is injuries. That is the problem with Pedro Neto. Injuries. If Arsenal can find a way, difficult, easy, we don't care the level. If we can find a way of dealing with his injuries, if we can find a way of working on his fitness, it's 100% going to be okay for us to sign Pedro Neto. But before we work on his injuries, before we work on his fitness levels and issues, I don't think that is a good signing. I don't think it's going to be a very good signing. Now, don't get me wrong. I've seen Chelsea fans flirting with him. I've seen Tottenham fans already posting what he can do. I know what Pedro Neto can do. Everyone knows what Pedro Neto can do. If you've seen the Premier League, if you've watched the Premier League for at least 2 seasons, 2024, 2023, I know you know how good Pedro Neto is. And I know how good Pedro Neto is. The problem with Neto is he's never available for us to show how good he is, for us to see how good he is. He's always absent. So what should Arsenal do? I think the reason as to why Pedro Neto is still on our list is because we have scouted him for quite some time, and Mikel Arteta and Edu have seen all the nice advantages, all the nice clips of this guy, and they're like, yes, he's injury prone, but he is good. And we all agree he is good. But with those injury problems, with those fitness issues, and that price, 50 million. Now, I think the price could come down a little bit. I could see it happen at 32 million plus a few add-ons, right? So the price could come down a little bit, but it should come down significantly. If Arsenal are going to get him, let it be a £25 million deal. I don't have a problem with Neto, honestly. Like, I really don't have a problem with him. But on my list, I would have Neto like in number 5. I would have Nico Williams above him. I would have Chiesa above him. I would have Sane above him. I would have Bakayoko above him. I would have so many players above him because of the fitness issues, but also the price as well. Now, the other player that has been linked with Arsenal in terms of a forward line move, that player is Joao Pedro. So according to transfers.com, they're saying Arsenal take interest in Joao Pedro as Edin Ketia nears exit. Joao Pedro signed for Brighton last summer, and we all said it was a smart move. It was a good signing, both for the player and the club. And I think Brighton, at the moment, they are winning. Joao Pedro is such a quality player. Now, for the first season, of course, injuries disturbed him a little bit here and there. And then he was being swapped a lot with Duncan Ferguson. But we expect him to be fire. We expect him to be really good this season. Joao Pedro is an interesting profile. And I'm not really surprised that Arsenal are interested in signing Joao Pedro. Not surprised at all. When I think about his profile, and I think about what really Mikel Arteta has been looking at in terms of a forward this summer, he's been looking at someone who can do everything. He's been looking at a player who can play in every position. And Joao Pedro, we watched him at Watford, I think, like 3 seasons ago. He was playing as a left winger. And then he played as a right winger as well for Watford. I think by that time they were playing with Troy Deeney through the middle. And then he was signed as at Brighton as a striker. So he can literally play everywhere. And I think him coming into the team would give us a little bit of, a boost in quality on the forward line. But it gives us a chance to have a player who is less injury prone and can cover all positions. Honestly, on the left-hand side, we are okay. But Joao Pedro could come in and give us that cover for Bukayo Saka very well. But then he can also come in and be the second striker at Arsenal, because you never know what's going to happen to Gabriel Jesus. I'm not saying he's going to pick up an injury, or he should. Probably he doesn't. Hopefully he doesn't. But if he was to pick up an injury, if he was to get injured, Arsenal wouldn't have another striker behind Kai Havertz. So Joao Pedro would be a sensible transfer. Joao Pedro would be a very good transfer. And I would love it to happen. Is it going to happen? In a million years, in a million chances, there is one chance that this one happens, right? If it happens, it's going to be at a very high price, or it doesn't happen. Now, they bought him for around 40 million, I think, last summer. They could get, they might want around 60 million. I don't think Arsenal are going to invest 60 million in a guy that is coming in to play behind Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus, behind Saka, and behind Gabriel Martinelli and Trossard. 60 million, unless otherwise, I don't see us spending that much on Joao Pedro. Will Brighton sell? Why would Brighton sell? That's a big question. Now, of course, Brighton are not in the UEFA Champions League. The player could say, I want to be in the UCL. I want to play in the UEFA Champions League. And that could be a turning point. That could be a turning factor. But when you think about Brighton this summer, they have made some very good signings in Mats Pfeiffer. They're looking to build their squad. They're not looking to ship players out. And they did ship a lot of players out of the squad last summer. And this summer as well, the likes of Pascal Gross, the likes of Billy Gomo could be leaving. I think they will want to protect their most valuable talent. And their most valuable talent at the moment, you're talking about Joao Pedro, you're talking about Duncan Ferguson, you're talking about the likes of Baleba. I think those are the players that Brighton are trying to build on. They're the building blocks. So I don't see him leave Brighton this summer. And if he does, it's going to be at a significant fee. But I can understand why we want him. I can see the vision. If he comes in at Arsenal, like, it's good. It's very good. I mean, Trossard is getting older. Gabriel Jesus is on the balance. If he performs well this season, he stays at Arsenal. Maybe he gets a contract renewal. If he doesn't perform well, 2 years left on his contract, he doesn't get a he doesn't get a contract renewal, he has to leave. So Joao Pedro, in any way, case or form, he actually comes in as a long-term prospect, a long-term player, and also a short-term fix. The short-term fix is that he doesn't come in to start every game, but he just comes in to offer competition. And the quality he has as a Brazilian player, he can do that. He can score goals, he can create chances and do everything. And then in the future, you can see him become a real Arsenal player. So yeah, Pedro I like. So in my opinion, if Arsenal are really serious about Joao Pedro, we can throw the other players out of the basket, out of the question, and focus on Joao Pedro. I have problems with Neto. I have problems with Sane as well. So we can focus on Joao Pedro and Federico Chiesa. How about that? That would be nice. Federico Chiesa and Joao Pedro, any of them that comes in, or even both of them, that would be a very good deal. But let me know what you think about that in the comment box below.